Good morning. Good morning. So again, everyone, happy holiday. It's a little bit windy today. So it's nice to be inside. So again, we start as usual with watching your breath for a few moments. So then we can think and contemplate that life is life in samsara is not as easy. It's full of challenges. But despite all these challenges, difficulties, we can find peace and calm. If we learn to be patient, accepting, and forgiving, just like even though there is so much wind outside, blowing here and there, but there is some kind of peace and protections inside the house. Not being affected by the so much of the external outside wind. Same way our life can be like that. There can be so many different external challenges like the external wind. But with our practice, we can protect from all these challenges, difficulties, and find peace, stability within. And that is key to find more happiness, more joy in our life. Therefore, coming us together here, engaged in discussions, reflection, contemplations, may all of them become cause and conditions to develop and cultivate that inner peace, inner joy, inner stability, inner protections. May it become cause and condition to cultivate highest level of the bodhicitta mind and wisdom realizing emptiness. May it become cause and condition to engage in the practice of six perfections. And may it become cause and conditions to actualize our own highest potential, fully awakened state. So we can be greatest help and benefit to all sentient beings, including oneself. May we always be nice, kind, understanding, compassion to all sentient beings. Regardless of their different attitudes, thoughts, views, actions. Okay. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. Sangye chodang soge sonam chanchu pado dane kyat. Dagi shoshe gibe sonam yola penje sangye rupa. Sangye chodang soge sonam chanchu pado dane. Dagi shoshe gibe sonam yola penje sangye rupa. So, in terms of the stages to the path that we have going through Sunday mornings, where sections where the practice of the great vehicle, and within that, we finish generating the bodhicitta mind, how to cultivate and generate the bodhicitta mind, and then having generated the bodhicitta mind, how to engage into the practice of the bodhisattva practice or the contact. And that within that, then there are mainly six practice, the six paramita or the perfections. And within that, we completed, finished discussing about the first two, the paramita of generosity and the paramita of moral discipline. And today we discuss on the third one, the the paramita of patience. And of course, each of those practices are very crucial, important, not only for achieving enlightenment, the ultimate goal. Of course, without practicing those parameters, there's no way we can achieve fully enlightenment, fully awakened state. But even if we just think of just our own life, just this life, ordinary life, the practice of patience is so crucial and important to have more peaceful, calm life, Our mind is so much disturbed by not being patient, not having the patience, there's so much bad feelings and, in the world, within the human beings, among human beings, so much bad feelings, so much negative feelings with each others, so much kind of fighting, arguing, quarreling, so much damage is done to each others, so much suffering, pain is created to each others. Many of those due to lack of tolerance. We are not tolerant, we are unable to have the patience or tolerance with each others. Due to lack of tolerance, due to lack of understanding, due to lack of the patience, so much suffering is created in the world to others and oneself. To others and oneself. But on the other hand, if we can cultivate more understanding, patience, tolerance, then, definitely we will create less pain, suffering, less problem to the world, people in the world around us. And also, we will also suffer less. We will create less suffering, pain to others, as well as we will suffering, less pain and less problem to ourselves. And so it's so important, so important. We can't expect everyone to have same view, same idea in every aspect, in every field. It's not possible. It's not possible until we all become enlightenment. 100 persons have 100 minds, 100 views. And we all know, just even within the families, even sometimes just two persons, partners, wife, husband, we have different view, different idea, almost on everything. Not because we want to have different view, we can't stop we have our own view, different ideas, It's not just because I want to have different view. It just comes naturally, so for whatever, due to whatever circumstances. And so therefore, accepting, understanding, and being tolerant with their different ideas, with their different views, that is different and from our views, and for that we need a lot of understanding and tolerance, patience, so that we can have different views, but we don't have to fight each other. We can have different view that we don't have to have ill will feeling, bad feelings with each others. And that is the key, that is the key to be able to live with their all different ideas, all different views, but at the same time without having bad feelings with each others. So that is where then the patience, tolerance or patience becomes so important. And such patience, tolerance and patience can be developed if we have more understanding, better understanding, come through better understanding, If someone has different views, different ideas than ourselves, why they have that different view? Why they have that different understanding? So if we have that understanding, then, we might not agree with their view, we might not agree with their thinking, we might not agree with their way of doing things, we might not agree with their attitude, behavior, but at the same time, we can have understanding why they do that way. Why they do that way. And with that, we can have, instead of having a bad feeling, negative feeling, we can have even more compassion for them. We can even have a compassion for them, And so that is, I think that is the key for, our own individual peace, as well for the peace in the world, in the society. That is the only way that we can heal ourselves. That is the only way the country can heal itself. That is the only way the world can heal itself, with a better understanding with each others, with more tolerance and patience with each others. That is the only way. That is the only way that so therefore today the topic, the patience, and in terms of that, we have been following particular text from the Lama Chopa, and we are in verse number, I think last week we finished verse number 102, and today we are 103. So I will just kind of read it before I. Should even all the beings of the three realms, without exceptions, become angry at me, humiliate, criticize, threatening, or even kill me, I seek your blessing not to be agitated, but to complete the perfection of patience that work for their benefit in response to their harm. It is a challenging practice, not easy, especially as is mentioned here. First of all, the practice of patience. Before I go a little bit more detail into that, act as a remedy or antidote towards, afflictive emotions or delusional mind, such as being impatient. So when you are patient, then your impatience get reduced, and eliminated. Impatience, anger, hatred, resentments, all these different negative emotions, afflictive emotions, And we all know how all these different feelings are, or emotions are painful. When you are impatient, how painful it is. When you are angry, how painful it is. When we have a hatred feelings, how painful it is. When we have a strong resentment, how painful it is. So in order to heal from all these painful, different negative emotions, we need to apply and practice the patience. The practice of patience will be able to heal from all those painful feelings and let go of those painful feelings or emotions, Mm. On the other hand, when we are more tolerant and more patience, it helps us to create better spaces within our heart, within our mind, to feel compassion for others, to feel loving kindness to others, to cultivate the awakened mind of bodhicitta. It helps us to lead on our spiritual path towards the enlightenment, And when we are able to practice the patience, not only our mind is peaceful, calm, unagitated, undisturbed. When your mind is unagitated, undisturbed, definitely there's more calmness, there's more peacefulness. And so emotionally, you are undisturbed or less disturbed. So that helps our emotional well-being. And not only emotional well-being, it also helps physical well-being. When our mind is agitated and disturbed, not only it disturbs our emotionally, it also affects our physical well-being. And there are so many findings, clear findings in the medicine world, how that our mind affect, more and more findings that are coming, how our state of mind is affecting our physical well-being as well, And also, I've often shared, individually people have noticed that themselves, I have a friend who have, kind of blood pressure, and he says he can find very easily when his mind is disturbed, it goes up, pressure goes up, when his mind is more calm, the pressure is more stable. Someone who has a diabetes, he also finds same thing. When his mind is disturbed, when he check his level of the sugar, it goes very high, And then, people who have a lot of heart attacks sometimes, also come through your mind being very, very disturbed, very agitated from that state. So, it is very much, related to our emotional well-being, physical well-being. So again, even from that perspective, why this practice and why we need to cultivate this patient tolerance or patient mind is so important, so important. And as also, it is explained in some of the, like Chandragiri's writings and others, Nagarjuna's writing, if you practice patience in the futures, as a result of that, we are born with a more physically, even physically, of course, there's emotionally a lot of, even physically more kind of more beautiful, more attractive, Mm. And forget about the future. Even immediately, it is very clear. When someone is patient, that person is more smiling, more cheerful, more laughter. And that is attractive. Smiling face is more attractive than, angry face, Someone who is laughing from their depth of heart, truly laughing, is much more better than someone who is complaining all the time. So, because of your state of mind, immediately even your physical appearance changes in a way, whether it become unattractive or attractive, whether people around like to be around you or they want to escape from you, if you are kind of, smiling and peaceful mind and peaceful that, it gives you such a peaceful environment. People like to be around you. On the other hand, you have kind of angry face, people wish they don't have to be here. They wish they could leave the place or you immediately, it's unpleasant. It's unpleasant, it's very unpleasant. So that is that is why we need to practice patience, the importance of the patience. So the patience is, state of mind. When we talk about patience, okay, or tolerance here, tolerance, patience, here when we talk about patience or tolerance, we are talking about state of mind. Okay, we are talking about state of mind. And what it means is to be able to keep your mind or your state of mind undisturbed, unagitated by whatever conditions, by whatever circumstances, by whatever situations, whether it is created by another beings or whether it is created naturally or whatever that, whatever happens, whether someone is, shouting at you, humiliating at you, criticizing at you, yelling at you, or even physically trying to be violent or showing attitude, whatever how, regardless of how they react or how they act, to be able to keep your state of mind in those situations, to be able to keep your state of mind unagitated, undisturbed. And it could be human beings or it could be things, things in our life, things doesn't go so well or as we wish time to time, we have so many dreams, we have so many plans, we have so many projects, we have so many, all this, and a lot of time things doesn't go away the way we want, And even when things doesn't go the way we want, to be able to keep your mind undisturbed, unagitated, and calm. So even in those situations, when you are able to keep your mind undisturbed, unagitated, and that is the patience. That is the patience. Again, sometimes, we want things to be better. We want things to be not only better, we want things to be better quickly, And like, again, sometimes things doesn't happen. Sometimes things doesn't get better. Sometimes things get worse. Sometimes things, even when it's getting better, it seems like it's never moving forward because it's so slow. And a lot of time that disturb our minds, that agitate our mind. And so the patience is your ability to keep your mind or the state of mind through your practice, through your training, that you have this ability to keep your mind undisturbed, unagitated, even in those situations. That is the patience. That is the patience. That is the tolerance or patience that I'm talking about. Mm. And same things, as much as we want to be healthy and we try our best to keep ourselves healthy, by doing whatever form of exercise, trying to do some, trying to have better diet, trying to take medication when needed, so for all that, but sometimes, for whatever reasons, sometimes, we have a problem with our health, and sometimes we lose things, whether it's human beings, whether it's animals, or whether it's other objects that we very much like. As much as we don't want to lose them, sometimes we lose them. Sometimes we lose them. And when we lose them, again, our mind is very much disturbed, very much agitated. Again, even in those situations, again, to be able to keep your mind undisturbed, unagitated is the patience. It doesn't mean, you cannot if you have patience, you cannot feel sadness. When you lose something, grief or sadness, But what it means is sometimes we go through certain sadness and grief, and then that leads us mind to be kind of agitated, And so not allowing whatever the grief, whatever sadness because of losing someone very close or something dear, not allowing that to agitate your mind, and so that's the functioning of the patience. What the patience does, is, when we have patience, what it does is it helps us to be less agitated, not agitated or less agitated, and more calm, more peaceful. So, so that is the. So I have, I have spoke so many times and clarify so many times. Again, because we are talking about that, again, I have to more clarify again. Patience is state of mind, not the action itself. It's a state of mind. That is, we have to be very clear about that. When we talk about patience from the Buddhist point of view, it is a state of mind, unagitated, undisturbed, unagitated state of mind. And so, patience doesn't mean if someone slapped me, okay? If someone slapped me, you know, it doesn't mean that I don't protect myself from being slapped again. Do you get it? It doesn't mean I'll allow that person to slap me again. Being tolerant, being patient doesn't mean that, if someone slapped me, allowing that person to slap me again or someone else. So how do we know whether I was patient? If someone slapped me, if I don't let that person to slap me again next time, it depends on what state of mind. When someone slapped you, did your mind get agitated or not? Did your mind got disturbed and agitated or not? When someone slap you, if our mind is agitated and disturbed, then definitely we are not patient. Even you allow that person to slap again, okay? Even you allow that person to slap again and again and again. If your mind is agitated and disturbed, you are not patient. On the other hand, that person slap, your mind might not be agitated and disturbed. But, you think, oh, if I allow this person to do that, that person's creating negative karma. That person's will started to bully and slap other people as well, even though I don't mind being slapped many times, but I'm encouraging that person to be bully and slapping to others. That is not good. That's not good for the others. That's not good for that person itself. That by doing that, that person putting himself or herself in the danger and also long-term creating negative karma. And therefore, I must discourage and stop such kind of actions. So you take actions, whatever actions are needed to stop such kind of harmful actions, such harmful and not helpful and harmful behavior and actions. And so you might have to take action for that. Sometimes you might have to take actions verbally. Sometimes you might have to take even physically, to stop such that. From outside, it looks like that person is being impatient because that person is responding action-wise. But that person is, even though he or she is responding or reacting, responding in a certain way to stop such kind of actions, behavior, but that person is still patient. Why? Because that person's state of mind is undisturbed, unagitated, calm. From the undisturbed, unagitated, calm mind, that person uses his wisdom to see what will be the best response to stop such harmful behavior and actions, and he or she take that kind of whatever is best to stop such kind of. So it's a state of mind. So that is that important. You know. you know. So therefore, being patient does not mean we allow, you know, everyone to do whatever they want and hurt and harm others, you know. It's more of training our mind to keep unagitated and undisturbed. Mm. And in terms of what is the best to respond, you know, it depends on circumstances. It depends on individuals. So, you know, sometimes it's the best not to respond. Sometimes it's better to respond. And how we respond at different ways, you know, different ways can be different, effective for different purpose, different time and different people and so on, you know. So there isn't specific one thing, but we all have to find our own way, most helpful and effective and wise way to do that. But basically that is the patience. Yeah. Mm. So here, you know, as when we read verse number 103, you know, it says, you know, even the whole world, you know, of the three realms, you know, whole world turn against us. You know, they all turn against us, you know, and even they try to, you know, criticize, abuse, humiliate, you know, threatening, or even take your life, even kill your life, you know, still training our mind to be undisturbed, unagitated, you know, not only being unagitated and undisturbed, but instead trying to feel compassion for that person, and because of that person's such behavior and actions, feeling compassion. Out of that compassion, trying to help and benefit for the harm and damage they did to us. That seems quite. So these are highly developed bodhisattvas practice. Maybe we are not in that stage. These are more kind of long-term ideal kind of, you know, eventually that you reach point where, you know, to help them back for the harm and damage they did for you, you know. At the moment, forget about that for us ordinary, or at least for me, you know, forget about helping and benefiting them, you know. If I can stop having a bad feelings, ill will feeling, wanting to hurt that person, wanting to take a revenge, wanting to hurt them back, that is great if we can stop that, you know. You know, if we can have compassion, it's great. Even we don't have compassions, even we cannot feel compassions at the moment, but if we can keep our mind from being disturbed and agitated with so much anger and hatred and ill will feeling, that is great for us to start with. You know, with every practice, we start with, for a beginner, we start with this more easy, simple, and something that we can apply immediately. And then slowly, our practice get more stronger, more better, you know, more progress. And then slowly, then we can be able to do that. But at the moment, you know, that at the moment, is how can I keep my mind, from being so boiling your mind, our mind being boiling with so much anger and hatred. If we can keep that calm, cool down that is huge progress. That is huge progress, huge progress. So we should try to apply by doing that, so that is and eventually, slowly, not only we try to keep our mind, free from all these kind of agitations of anger, hatred, ill will feelings, but even feel compassion. Slowly, even feel compassion. Go beyond that. Slowly, even feel compassion. And again, as our practice get better and better with the time on the path, not only have compassions, but out of that compassions, helping and benefiting them for harm and hurt and the damage they did for us, instead for what that, not only being compassion, but even physically reaching them and helping them, benefiting them. That is what it says here in the verse number we just read. But that is, there are many levels of practice of patience. Do you get it? Like every practice, we start from the very beginning, and as we get better, then we go a little bit further, as we make progress, our practice becomes even more stronger further, and that is how we go it. But to start, you shouldn't feel, oh, I cannot practice patience because there's no way I can feel compassion for that person. There's no way I can help and benefit them for harm they do to me or someone else. At the very beginning, for us, beginner, is all about not allowing our mind to be so much agitated by the fire of anger and hateful feelings, ill will feeling, hatred, and so forth. If we can do that, then that is great. That's great. Okay. Mm. Mm. And as I already mentioned, once our mind is calm, undisturbed, unagitated, then, whether I should respond or not respond, if I respond, how should I respond? All that is something else. That is another level, But the patient itself is just keeping your mind undisturbed, unagitated. That is the key. That is the key. So here, in one of the prayers, it says, prayer to the Maitreya Bodhisattvas, patient must be as steady as earth and water, not changeable like a wind. Winds blow here and there everywhere, so move so like that. Instead of like that, unstable, here like earth is saying the patient has to be very stable, like earth and oceans, very stable. Means that your mind is not so, fluctuating easily by the circumstances, external circumstances or internal circumstances, especially circumstances, And knowing that both the patience and anger do not exist, I wish to accomplish the perfection of the patience. And in another prayer by Lama Tsongkhapa, it says, when I see, hear, or think of those who struck, beat, or malice me, may I be without anger. So when you practice the patience, no matter how people treat you, no matter how people treat you, not allowing any kind of anger or hatred, resentments to arise, that your mind being disturbed or agitated by those negative emotions, and instead keep your mind peaceful and calm, and speak of their virtues and meditate on patience. You know, again, this is similar. Speak of their virtues is similar, like instead of normally we'll then we'll try to put them down, criticize them, talk bad about them. But instead of doing that, then if possible, then we try to speak good about them. Again, that might be another second stages of the practice. The first stages is just keeping your mind from being disturbed, unagitated by anger, hatred, and ill will feeling. That is the first stages of practicing the patience. So, then, so that is the in general. So then, in some of the practice, again, as I mentioned last week, we like numbers. So there are three type of patients. Okay, so three type of patients. The first type is the patient to remain calm and undisturbed, unagitated, your mind, unagitated and undisturbed, even in the face of being harmed, even in the face of receiving harm, even in the face of encountering or receiving the harm, you know. And second is the patience, to have patience when we face, when we encounter or when we face challenges, difficulties in our life, So even when you are not receiving harm, or even when you are not encountering harm from others, but in our life, we encounter and face a lot of challenges, a lot of difficulties, a lot of challenges, sufferings, pain. So when those things happens, when those manifest in our life, when we face them, how to be patient, and again, not allow those situations to disturb and agitate your mind with all these, again, negative feelings and emotions. Um, so in other words, it's the patience of accepting or enduring the hardship, the suffering, the problems. Of course, nobody wants suffering, nobody wants pain, nobody wants difficulties. We all try to avoid that. We try all our best to avoid that. But despite trying all our best, the reality of life is we will continue to encounter, we will continue to face many different challenges and different state of our life, different problems, different difficult situations, painful situations, And so in those time, how can we be patient by enduring and accepting whatever is happening in our life in that moment, in that time, by being able to accept that, and by being able to be patient with that, it makes the problem less. It makes the suffering less. it make the challenge less, and so that is the key. That is the key. How can we lessen the pain? How can we lessen the suffering? How can we make a less of the problem? And that is through the training patience in that way. Mm. And the patience to gain assurance in the Dharma, or the patience to engage in the virtues and the practice. Again, when we try to engage in our spiritual path, when we try to practice the Dharma, when we try to practice the virtues, again, sometimes, it is not always going to be easy, just because we are trying to be virtuous, just because we are trying to practice the Dharma, just because, we are trying to be better persons, more compassionate, more understanding, sometimes doesn't mean that we don't face difficulties, challenges on our path, So when we do encounter any kind of challenges and problems, obstacles, while on the path, while trying to practice, while trying to be on the path, then again, we need to have the patience to go through all of those and deal with all of them, without losing our mind and without, being so agitated, Mm. So those are the kind of the three type of the patients, and we'll go through each of them a little bit, So in terms of the first one, the patience to, to keep our mind calm, unagitated in the face of harm, whether the harm is done to yourself, your families, your friends, or someone else, someone who is vulnerable, whoever that person, or animals, whatever, sometimes when we see harm done to ourselves, our family, our friends, or sometimes to others, it disturbs our mind. It agitates our mind. We become very upset, angry, So, and that doesn't help. Being angry doesn't help. If the being angry solve the problem, that will be great. Even if it's painful, at least it solved the problem, isn't it? It's unpleasant feeling, it's a painful feeling, but it solved the problem. At least there's some good point in that. But it doesn't solve the problem. Just look at this country now. How much anger there is. Is it solving the problem, or is it making the problem bigger? So just by anger doesn't solve the problem. It only creates more problem. It only creates more pain. And we are experiencing that one. Everyone is experiencing that one painful experience that everyone's going through because there is so much anger. And that didn't solve the problem. The problem didn't go away for whatever angry they are about. And so therefore, it doesn't solve the problem. It only creates more problem. It doesn't, heal the pain. It only creates more pain to others, to the society, and yourself. And so therefore, if it is something not beneficial, helpful to ourselves, to the society, to the world, we should try to, reduce and eliminate, And so how can we do? How can we, not feel upset and angry and hateful, is by through the practice of patience, through the practice of patience. When you are patient, then you don't have anger, hatred, and all these ill will feelings. How can we practice the patience? How can I be patient? How can I not be upset? How can I not be angry? How can I be patient? Through understanding. Through understanding. Patience comes through understanding. Understanding the persons, understanding the other beings and other beings' feelings, their emotions, their, their pain and their sufferings, why they do that way, why they behave that way, why they think that way, coming all understanding that way, Mm. And it is important, for example, sometimes it's so easy for us to dismiss things so easily, We, of course, from the all side, from all sides, the other side is the ignorant, okay? From all sides, we are not the one ignorant one, the other side is the ignorant one. The other side doesn't know the reality or the truth. That's how everyone feels that way, We can agree, disagree. That is something else, but that is how we feel, But but one thing our thinkings and our attitude is very much influenced by many factors around us, our upbringings, our friends, families, our workplace, and what kind of information that you have access to, what kind of information you listen to, what kind of news or informations that you listen to or you read. All of those play huge roles, And of course, everyone's feel that I'm listening and reading the right informations. Nobody feel I'm reading wrong informations, listening to wrong informations. If I'm looking for certain information, certain news, if I feel that is wrong or not true, I might not be interested in reading again, listening again. But when I believe that is something true, then I keep on listening or reading on that. And so all these have a lot of influence on someone's thinking and someone's attitude and that is no exception to anyone. It is same to all of us, for all of us, So So we have to feel compassion, because even someone, let's say, of course, even we think someone is, being misled, misguided by wrong informations, wrong influence by, around them, but, they do not want to be, misled. They don't want to be in wrong, but, we all, time to time, we get in that. There are times when I've been misled. There are times when I was wrong. There were times, when I thought it was right at a certain time, and later I find out I was wrong. I find out myself in that situation very often. And so many people also find themselves. We all find out ourselves in time to time like that. So then with that understanding, then we should feel a compassion for them. Mm. While we might not agree with their behavior, their actions, but as a person, as a being, we should understand where they come from and their own suffering, their own pain, and feel compassion for that person. There's no contradictions to being compassion to that person and at the same time stopping that person's harmful behavior and actions. And that is the key, I think, many of the Buddhist scriptures, says we have to differentiate persons and persons' actions. And I think it's so important, the persons and persons' actions. We have to differentiate these two things, the persons and persons' actions. Because that person's actions is harmful, we have to take every actions to stop such actions, so that there is less harm, there's less damage, there's less pain created, less problem created. At the same time, feel for the persons, compassion to the persons. Mm. And there are many different ways of understanding that, and many examples are given. For example, one example that we can, many of you have heard many times, is like when someone has some kind of mental issues, mental problems, mental issues, when their families, their friends, when their doctors, nurses who are trying to help them, because they are mentally kind of not stable, they don't know what they are really doing. So sometimes they might try to hurt and harm back the very people who are trying to take care of them, the very people who care for them, but they're very people who are trying to help them, But when they try to harm back, when they try to push back and say bad things, or even some kind of physically trying to hit to the doctors, nurse, the very family, the very friend who are trying to take care of them, because the family, the friend, the doctor, the nurse, because they know that person's mental situations, they will not be so upset and angry. Instead, they feel more compassion, and they feel, I wish I could help that person to come out of that, situations, that pain and that sufferings. So they don't feel angry and hateful and have a resentment towards that person for behaving that way. Why? Because they have understanding. Because they have understanding, that is their medical medical issue of that person's, health issues, because of the mental issues of that. Same way, if someone is behaving in the harmful way, negative, harmful way to yourself or others, we understand, even though we don't agree with that, and we have to stop such, but at the same time, that person is acting, behaving that way because they are mentally ill, sick. From Buddhist point of view, we all are delusionally sick. We all are delusionally sick, Maybe biologically, maybe we might be fine, but a delusional point of view, from that point of view, we all are sick. And that is why we do that things that we don't want to do. Everyone's like that, Nobody want to be, everyone want to be kind in generally, Everyone want to be nice to others. But in everyone's moments, we hurt and harm others. Not only we hurt and harm others, we hurt and harm sometimes the very people we love so much. The very people that we are closest to, the very people that we try to protect them, the very people we try to help them, those people, sometimes we hurt them and harm them. We say things which are not nice. Sometimes we say things which are not nice in a moment, in a sudden moment. Sometimes we yell at them. Sometimes we use harsh words. Sometimes we curse them. And later we all regret. We feel embarrassed, ashamed, and regret. We feel, I wish I could take the word back. If that is so, if you are so ashamed of that, if you are so regretful of that, if you are so embarrassed of that, why did you do that? Why do you do that? Because in that moment, we lost our mind. We lost our mind in that moment. We lost our mind in that moment. Why did you lose the mind? Because we had no control. We had no control. It is not like I had total control and I decided to lose it. In that moment, you have no control and you totally lost the mind. If that's the cases, if that is your experience, if that is my experience, that is the experience of all others. If someone is being mean, if someone is being unkind, if someone is being harsh, if someone is being that, because in that moment, that person has lost their mind and they have no control over their mind. In that moment, that person's, in that very moment, when they behave that way, in that very moment, that person is in not good state of mind. They have lost their mind. So then, they don't want to be in that state, but they didn't want to be in that, but they were in that state. And so you can imagine what kind of different thoughts that they might go through later. And so there, through that, then we can understand them. And then just like that, patients in the mental hospital, just like that, then you don't accept and you don't agree with that, such a harmful actions, and we have to try to stop such harmful action. At the same time, you can feel compassion with that person, because that person is in that moment, is like it's same, like even in a medical, even in a when someone has a mental issues, and there are certain disease, even maybe even certain level of polio as well, one moment they seem just fine, normal, and next moment something happens and they totally become something else, and they are normal, isn't it? And that is what is happening. Same thing with that, with all of us. When the moment one of the delusion arises and very strongly overwhelm us, overpower our mind, totally take over then, and then we become not normal. We behave not normal. We become something else. Some people, they have that more, manifesting with that more often, and some people, they manifest less. The difference is. So it's like a sickness where there is more severe and moderate, and mild, So some people have more mild symptoms, some people have more moderate symptoms, some people have more severe symptoms. So when those who have more severe symptoms, they get more angry all the time. Mild one, they get angry, but not so often. Same with all other delusions, ignorance, Some people have more severe symptom of ignorance, some moderate, some some mild. But basically, all of them are have some kind of sickness. And so therefore, from that perspective, from that understanding, then, we can think, that person's is, manifesting of that severe symptom, And that person's is a symptom. That person's acting in such a harmful way because it's a symptom, because there is some sickness inside, the delusion. So then you feel with that person's, you wish that person's free from that delusions, the sickness itself, instead of being angry with that person's. Then, we can pray and dedicate that person's become free from not only the symptom, but the root of that symptom, the delusion itself, whatever that delusion, whether it is anger, whether it is ignorance, whether it is greediness, whatever, jealousy, arrogant, whatever that delusions, is making them to act that way. They are acting that way because one of those delusions has manifested and overtaken them. So through that, then just as we feel compassion for the persons in the medicine, in a, medical, mental health have issue, same way, same thing, we have a delusional issue. And when someone have that delusion, when one of those delusion manifests very strongly, then they lose their mind, and then they act and behave such way. And sometimes it is easy for us, they should control their delusions. Well, I wish I can control my delusions. If that's the case, I would never want to get angry any moment for a second. I don't want to have a greediness, attachment, even for a second. I don't want to have a jealousy, pride, arrogant, ignorance, even for a moment. Not only I don't want, I've been putting effort for so many years to reduce them, to overcome them. Is not only not wanting and is not even not putting effort, even having put effort in your practice to reduce them is not easy. It's not easy. And so therefore you can imagine those who have delusions like ourselves, and some maybe even more stronger because from the past imprint, but then they don't have the tools to deal with them. At least we have the tool to deal with them. Some people, they don't have the tool to deal with them. When the anger arises, they don't know what to do with that. They don't have any practice, meditations. So they don't have tool to do. They don't know how to control that, how to, And so if you see that, then you feel more compassion, how much pain and suffering they are going through. And they don't have the tools to work with that, to deal with that. And that is same with all of those different afflictive emotions. So with that, if we reflect, if we contemplate, if we think on that, maybe slowly, we might start to have a little bit more understanding. Slowly, we'll have a more better understanding. And with that better understanding, maybe it will help us to have more patience. And even more, and even feel compassion for them, But having patience and compassion doesn't mean we allow their such harmful behavior to continue. But as a person, as another being, we feel compassion for them. We feel, we have patience towards them, so we don't have bad feeling, ill will feeling, negative feeling. But in terms of the action itself, because it's harmful and it brings pain and suffering to another sentient being, we have to stop that. So that is the key. That is the key. So I guess maybe, probably maybe I have to stop here today. So that is the, in terms of the patience, when you are facing with the, from our perspective, unkind, mean people, persons, From their point of view, we might be the object of compassion, object of meditation, of patience, okay? For us, they are the object of meditation, of patience. From their point of view, we are the object of meditation and patience. So we all have to exchange, From my point of view, that person is a difficult person. From that point of view, person, I'm the difficult person. From my point of view, that person is not so kind person, not so, unkind person. From that person point of view, probably I'm the unkind person, I'm the mean person. So that is, so that is the way, meditation, where the meditation on patience is meditating to have that understanding. Really, that is key. If you are understanding, then it's much easier to develop patience and compassions that come through the understanding. And so to understand, we have to really contemplate, think, reflect more and more on like those issues. Those are some of the example how we can think it, but of course there can be many different way of thinking, different way of reflecting, different way of contemplating from many different point of view, you know, and we can contemplate our own way to really better understand that person's it can be, you know, as much as you dislike that person's behavior and actions, that you could like that person's, you know. And that is the point, that is the way we need to do, you know, liking the person at the same time because it's a harmful action, disliking that behavior and actions. Okay, so if there's any questions, I can take one or two. If there's any questions or comments, something to share. If there is, if not, then we do the dedications. Okay, then we do the dedications. May all beings everywhere plagued by the suffering of body and mind obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtues of my merit. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled, with a mind weighed down by depressions. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored, finding repose. May the naked find clothing, hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drink. May the poor find wealth, those who weep with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness, and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvest. May all medicine be effective and wholesome prayer bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be free from their ailments. Whatever disease they are in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightening cease to be afraid and those bound be free. May the powerless find power. May people think of benefiting each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you very much. And